Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to pariomagazine.com.au. So moving on to topic 2, another entrepreneurial one, the Bob's Burgers movie. Had you watched any Bob's Burgers before watching this? Okay.
0 Bob's Burgers.
Interesting. So what did you think of this movie? Basically, it's a 2022 animated musical comedy based on the TV show Bob's Burgers, and it's now on Disney Plus. So I waited until it was on there to watch it. And it takes place after or between the events of season 12 and 13 of the show. So it's like everything's kind of established in this universe by the time this movie comes around. And it's basically much like the Bob's Burgers show, Bob and his family trying to keep their business afloat and deal with a whole bunch of wacky craziness that happens outside of their control. This time, a sinkhole opening dead center right in front of their restaurant, basically just stopping anybody being able to go into their restaurant and their restaurant only.
Yeah, I liked it. Actually, I lie. My one time watching Bob's Burgers is the gif of the girl, I forgot her character's name now, but the girl with the funny ears that just does the hectic dance moves.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it funny. It felt like, just to me, I've not watched an episode, but it felt like just a very extended episode.
Yeah, 100%.
And even having not ever seen any of the episodes before that, I found the dumb jokes, for me, it was really funny. That, like, even just the little stupid puns and things they have in there. Like the funeral home next door was called "It's Your Funeral Crematorium," whatever it was. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just the silly humor was enough for me. But yeah, I definitely missed the mark on a few things, just not knowing what was going on.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think it was a good way to sort of introduce people to this universe without like littering it with a whole bunch of like inside jokes. It was just silly, ridiculous humor. Bob, like the very start, with his clearly anxiety-riddled mind, like just creating this burger and like talking to it, and yeah, his wife is just always super cheerful, and he's always just like panicked all the time. And then the kids are ridiculous. And what was his son making? Just like this weird like
the napkin instrument.
Yeah. So
then he turned it into a band.
Yep. Yeah,
just the itty bitty titty committee.
Yep. Yeah, real funny. What did you think of the big Carney musical sequence?
I wasn't expecting it to have a musical element to it whatsoever until I think within the first probably like 2 minutes, there's already like a song and dance sequence.
Yep.
I thought it was funny. Like I said, the one thing they do really well, and I can see why the GIF came from it, they animate really dumb dance moves really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that they can make their characters move around, and I don't know, there's definitely something there that it cracked me up not knowing what they were going to do next.
Yeah, I think like just their art style like lends itself to like really weird like movements. And it's like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, and it was cool. Like they did that Family Guy style, I guess, mix of the 2D and the 3D together, which I like. But yeah, the song and dance, it was very random. I think the one at the end where he was trying to unveil his master plot when they were down in like the boys' cave with the submarine. He was trying to unveil his master plot through song, but no one wanted to sing with him. And it just, it was funny. Like I enjoyed it. It made a different element to it. But yeah, I think you're right. The silly humor for me, being someone that grew up with Family Guy, and I don't know, I think the Family Guy and the Futurama and everything back in that time has done so much for these cartoons now. There's almost too many of them, but I think Bob's Burgers is probably a good version of that. But that silly humor of where like there's a massive car chase sequence and they're driving around in little clam cars
that go moving, like super slow.
And someone says, could we not just get out and walk? I think it'd be faster. And we're like, no, they're going to keep going in the little clam cars. So I don't know, if you're in for that sort of a humor and you know what you're going into. The thing for Bob's Burgers movie for me was just having no idea of what I was getting into. And at first, I was like, oh man, like this is going to be lame. But by the end of it, when I knew what I was in for, it made it a lot funnier.
Yeah, like I just thought like just the lyrics and stuff in that Carney musical as well was just like so over the top and like ridiculous for you. Every time they came up with a new verse, you're like, okay, you idiots.
Yep. Going again.
This is how this rhymes, okay. But I think what made it so congruent with like the series is they got back the original director and series creator Lauren Bouchard and series director Bernard Derriman. They got a bunch of like nearly all of the original cast back to reprise their voice roles. So I think by having those people that already had 12, 13 seasons of experience with this show, they knew the characters inside and out. They knew how to play them together and bounce off each other. So I think that's why it felt like such basically just a long episode. It wasn't like the Simpsons movie, which kind of felt like an episode to begin with, but then got super grand and over the top. This one was like a very smaller, contained story, but just they had an hour 20 to play with instead.
Yeah, it definitely didn't have that. Yeah, it didn't have the big rise and fall and the over dramatized stuff of The Simpsons, I don't think. But I don't know. To be honest with you, I would have preferred The Simpsons had done that. Me being like a massive, long-time Simpsons fan, it kind of took away from what The Simpsons is. I prefer a long Simpsons episode than I would a big, over-the-top cinema-style movie.
Yeah, Hollywood movie.
Yeah, like the big dome and Homer riding a motorbike and just big scenes of all the crazy stuff. I don't know. I prefer the long episode format. So I think that's something they did really well. I think that's what they do, and that's what they do. So why change it? Like you obviously want them to make the movie because of what they've already done. So I don't think they need to change their format.
Yeah, and especially now, like with streaming services playing such a big role, like this was, I feel like this was made, obviously for the cinema, but I think the streaming services were another big thing that they would have had in the back of their mind of, even if we don't make a bunch of money in the movie cinema, this is going to be a draw to get people to subscribe to Disney Plus and watch the movie there. So.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that's going to get me to probably do the reverse. I think I already had Disney Plus, but it's something that's going to keep me watching Disney Plus. I find that a lot of the time obviously being a teacher and having access to those sorts of things in wet weather or whatever is like a handy thing to have with Disney. But me just being in a couple that doesn't have kids, I kind of sometimes find myself wondering why I still have it. And the star element of like the Disney Plus subscription just kind of doesn't have that much good stuff on it.
Every now and then it'll have like an absolute banger, but then a lot of the time you're like, whatever. I've really only got Disney for my Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. And I think now for this, it's good to at least have the almost reverse of that, where I can just watch the movie, but now I know, okay, well, I've got 12 seasons. So 12 seasons, something like that. So maybe I can go back and actually enjoy that. Yeah, enjoy it in the reverse. So get hooked in by the end and maybe start from the start from there.
Yep. Yeah, there's currently 12 seasons, over 200 episodes. So you've got plenty of watching to get through.
Strap in.
And like we're mentioning, in terms of how it did in the cinemas, I guess you could look at it as basically a flop in the cinema because it has currently grossed $34 million off a $38 million budget. So they're in the hole still. But I guess with the streaming services, they kind of make that back. We mentioned like Family Guy and like American Dad, shows like that. We've already seen a South Park movie. We've seen a Simpsons movie. Would you like to see a Family Guy or an American Dad movie or a Rick and Morty movie?
Okay, Rick and Morty had me because I think Rick and Morty have so much more scope to do something big and crazy, and it just is Rick and Morty anyway. You can just do anything with that, and it just works. Obviously, because they do the whole multiverse thing, so there's literally leaves themselves so many options of what they can do. But now that you're saying it like that, I guess if I was a Bob's Burgers fan, I'd be disappointed and sad that it didn't get what I thought it deserved. So it scares me as a Family Guy fan, American Dad fan, whatever, that I'd be scared the only way for them to go, if you're already up here, the only way to go is down. Yep. So I think just do what you know and what you're good at and just people are going to keep watching you anyway. It's space for them to lose where I don't think they need to. Rick and Morty, on the other hand, I think they've just got such a cult following and just such a crazy brand that they could just do whatever they feel like and people would go for it anyway. Like you could do any type of grand movie or episode and I think it would work. But I don't know. What about you? What do you think? I can't see Family Guy doing it.
Yeah, I don't think we would get a Family Guy one. Rick and Morty, I think they're owned by Warner Brothers, aren't they? So I think if, like you said, they wanted to do a multiverse movie, they've got so many properties that they could branch out into. Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. Like it could be absolutely off the wall, crazy. Like we got with Space Jam, but wackier and funnier. I think like Space Jam 2, not great, but Rick and Morty doing this basically the same thing could have been really cool. I personally would love to see a Futurama one. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, Futurama is like that same vibe of Rick and Morty to me, though. If you give yourself the infinite universe, you give yourself the infinite opportunity to do anything. You know, any planet that has anything on it. So yeah, I think they could do that as well. But my fear with that would be coming from that same Simpsons angle, that I think that they would do the same style as what the Simpsons have done.
Go a little bit too far.
Yeah, and it just didn't feel like the Simpsons. And I just like it had the same characters and the voices, but the animation was a little bit different, and it just didn't feel quite right.
In terms of the Simpsons, have you seen the new trailer for the remake of the Simpsons Hit and Run game?
I have seen it in the works that it was coming, and I used to love that game. Like I would drive around and hammer order out the front of Evergreen Terrace for hours and hours and hours. So if they make it, I'm going to buy it anyway. That's the same as most of this stuff. They make it, I'm going to do it. But does it look good? Tell me it looks good.
It looks so good. Like, remember how the game used to have like that weird like 3D element to the characters? Not anymore. It straight up looks like it's an episode of the show, but you can play it.
Yeah, that's good. And that's what I liked of the South Park games, like Stick of Truth.
Oh, yeah.
That, yeah, it just felt like you were part of it.
Yep. Those games
I think that's good. Yeah. I mean, as a kid, though, you never realized that was the peak level of animation in games at that point. So I never even clicked that it was bad. I thought that was good compared to what I had before on my Sega Mega Drive. But
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see it now.
I was watching the trailer and they did the like, here's what it used to look like. And then they did like the slide across to the new version. I was like, oh, wow. That's legitimately like just an episode now. Like the artwork's so much better.
Yeah, that'd be good. Did it have a date?
Off the top of my head, I cannot remember. It shouldn't be far away. Like they're just updating the graphics, I guess, and changing a bit of the controls. Like it's not like a 3-year development cycle like it would be for a brand new game. So hopefully not too far away.
Yeah, I feel like Xbox has stalled for me a little bit at the moment. Like I'm kind of just playing the same sorts of games and just waiting. I keep thinking that things are coming. Like I've got the flight sim and that's really good. And I've just been playing Call of Duty a lot. But I've been waiting for like Age of Empires that got brought out with Xbox Live PC. But for some reason, they just haven't transported it across to the actual console. Desperate to play the new Age of Empires. And just games in the background like that now, Simpsons Hit and Run, that I'm just waiting for something good again. You know, you're waiting for a movie that's good again, and you think, when's something going to come along? That's how I feel with Xbox games right now.
Yeah, and after buying so many studios as well, I expected there to be a lot more Xbox games this year, and there just hasn't been. So I feel like they're not managing their studios all too well.
Yeah, I don't know. It was always the thing with Xbox that I know Sony and PlayStation seem to make a lot of games, so you have a lot more choice. But the draw card for me to be sticking with Xbox this whole time is that when they get one right, they seem to get it really right. So come on, I'm just still waiting. I just want that Age of Empires so bad.
I have it on my computer.
Yeah, see.
You have to just make a trip down to come and play Age of Empires for an afternoon.
Yeah, and just sit in your room and play your computer.
Yeah. Alrighty, that's the 2 topics for this week. What would be your top recommendation for the week?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think depends on your mood. I think overall you'd have to go with Super Pumped because it's more real to life. And I think, like I said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a really, really good job. And the way that they've done it, I think you're right. It's a crossover between Wolf of Wall Street and We Crashed. Both of those I thought were great. So the combo of the two, I'd have to say Super Pumped.
Yeah, I went with Super Pumped as well. Like I said, just a really well done show. But I think like Bob's Burgers is good, but I can see how if you don't like that style of comedy, it would be a massive slog to get through. So yeah, go Super Pumped. I think most people will enjoy Super Pumped for what it is.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at JamieUps Media and at Pario Magazine. And you can follow Buddy on Instagram at a.b_CSEE.
Thank you.
Sweet. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Blake Robinson, Rena Renee, Courtney Paulson, Darren Hatcliffe, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.